Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another action-packed episode of The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. I am your host, Brent Piles, and with me, as always, in my venture through the Attitude Era, he is a man from across the ocean and from the future, the Ballroom Brawler, Disco Dance, and Dynamite Church, and Intercontinental Playboy. Folks, he's more over than hiring a German guy to coach a bunch of English guys. At G. Russell and Glenn Abbott. Glenn, how you doing?
I'm doing very well, thank you. There's not a lot of football to talk about, really.
Yeah, that was the one thing I wanted to ask.
I don't care, is the answer to that.
I figured that was good.
As long as he sends back any Arsenal players he picks, Hale and Harty, then I don't care.
That's fair.
As long as the international team haven't got a manager that sends people back to their clubs damaged, then I'm not that worried.
I mean, and I think Thomas Tuchel's a pretty good manager. I mean,
yeah, he was all right at Chelsea. He got screwed by Chelsea, really.
Yeah. And then even last year, I thought he did a good job with Munich, but then he just didn't. I mean, it seemed like nobody wanted that job, and then they gave it to Vincent Kompany because he was the last man standing.
Yeah, that's right.
I might be wrong, but did Kompany ever play for Munich? Do you know?
I don't think so. I can only ever remember him playing for City.
Yeah, I only remember Belgium and City is the only thing I remember him playing for. Yeah.
Yeah, that's all I can ever remember him playing as well.
Because I mean, he coached Burnley last year, and he couldn't even keep them in the Premier League. So
no.
But yeah, that was the only one football thing I was going to ask you is how you felt about that, and I figured you'd say you didn't care. So
no, like I say, send out players back, Hale and Harty, then I am really won't be bothered.
Then Thomas Tuchel will be my favorite English manager of all time.
Yes, yeah.
Or England manager, because he's not English.
English, no, he's England manager.
But yeah, so tune in next week for more football talk, as we'll have an actual whole round of games this weekend, which I'm very much looking forward to. The women's team, the Lady Gunners, do play in about 54 minutes in the Champions League, so that kicks off at 2 o'clock my time. I think you can find it on YouTube. It won't matter because this show will be fucking long gone by then. But anyway, yeah, let's get right into it, Glenn. It is Raw from March the 2nd, 1998, from the Gund Arena in Cleveland, Ohio. The Gund Arena is now known as the Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse. It opened in October of 1994 and is the current home to the Cleveland Cavaliers of the NBA. This arena has held many pro wrestling shows over the years, many Raws, SmackDowns, many pay-per-views, including SummerSlam 1996. The Invasion pay-per-view took place at the arena, Survivor Series 2004, among many others. So it's been a hotbed for WWE over the years. Actually just had an episode of SmackDown take place at this arena just last month. So if you happen to find yourself in Cleveland, and I'm sure you can catch a Cavs game because the NBA season starts coming up soon, or if you're there November 22nd, you can head down to this arena and see the mayor of Canton's favorite band, Creed. I'm just kidding. I don't think it's his favorite band, but so head on down and maybe Creed can take you higher. That's the only Creed song I know.
I think there's a SmackDown as well in November, isn't there?
Maybe I didn't see that when I looked it up. They just had SmackDown there like in August, so I doubt it.
Oh, it might have been that I saw.
That could, I mean,
I know. I was amazed when I looked it up because it's one of the few that we've actually visited that's still standing and operating.
Yeah, this one's still going strong. Yeah, most of the arenas we visit are long gone by now. Yeah, the only one sign I got down from this week is there was a sign that said "Luna has a boner."
I like the one that said "Doink 316."
Oh, yeah.
Very relevant for 1998, that one.
Yeah, Doink was a big time star in 1998. So, full disclosure, back behind the curtain here, I broke my phone screen this weekend when my phone fell out of my pocket, and then I shut it in the car door. And so I took notes on the very first segment of the show on my phone, but it is, of course, now broken. So my notes for this are gone. So, Glenn, why don't you share with us what happened to open the show this week?
Well, we get a promo from DX, as always. It was meat and potatoes. It was nothing special. It's just going on about Mike Tyson, and basically, what this show boils down to is back in 2015, I started listening to a wrestling podcast called The New Age Insiders. They always banged on about storytelling, and how bad it was in the WWE at that time. Now I'm looking back at 1998, which would have been their formative years, shall I say, of watching wrestling. I can understand what they mean, because this show is not great wrestling wise, but it is shit hot on telling stories.
Yeah, that's fair. I would say that was fair. Yeah, because there's not a lot of great matches on this, but
building towards WrestleMania very nicely. They're progressing a lot, and we'll get into the DX thing in a little bit. But when you get a little bit of a swerve, shall I say?
Yeah, there is a swerve here. Yeah, there wasn't a whole lot. From what I remember, it was basically Triple H saying all the things he said last week when they were playing pool at Shawn Michaels' house. I remember that.
Yeah.
With WrestleMania being X-rated and blah blah blah. So I don't know. From what I remember of it, I don't think it was good nor bad. It was just sort of there.
It was just sort of there.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was nothing special.
But I do. The next thing is the New Age Outlaws come down to the ring. They both got neck braces on. They also have a dumpster that's already at ringside. They say it's their mascot now.
Yes, I love that.
They talk about.
I've got that in my good.
Yeah, this was good stuff. So yeah, they talk about being attacked by Chainsaw Charlie and Cactus Jack last week. They say that they're now up on first-degree murder charges, which I don't think they are. They show foot. The fun part was showing the inside the car footage was the best part.
That was excellent.
Yeah.
I loved that, because it was obvious that wasn't quite what happened, because at one point, as we pointed out last week, you do see the Road Dogg nearly lose his head by sticking it out of the car door just as Chainsaw Charlie is hacking at it with the chainsaw. And you didn't see that.
So it was fun to see, them kind of the different perspective with the camera inside the car that the Road Dogg had. They talk about how they're hurt and they're not going to be wrestling tonight. But then Sergeant Slaughter, who Sarge like some weeks really throws his weight around, and then sometimes we don't ever see Sarge. So I don't really understand him.
It comes across like the voice of God. It just pops up on the screen.
A little bit, yeah. Sarge says that they're not hurt, and he orders them to wrestle tonight. In fact, they will defend the tag team titles against Skull and 8-Ball from the DOA, because they've done so much to deserve a fucking tag team title match at this point. But it doesn't matter.
Basically, the only tag team left, apart from the other tag team that we see in the show later.
Yeah. I mean, the match doesn't last long because Chainsaw Charlie and Cactus Jack end up popping out of the dumpster that's out there. And the Outlaws take off through the crowd. Yeah, they end up being counted out. And so the promo and everything was fun, but the match was released.
But that is why the dumpster got a good from me. Because it was the way that you knew it was going to happen, but it was still a surprise when Chainsaw Charlie and Cactus Jack popped out of it.
Yeah, I mean, I expected them to show up, but I don't necessarily thought that they were going to pop out of the dumpster. So yeah, that was a nice touch. The next thing was something I thought I'd never have to see again, and it's Mark Merrow versus Tom Brandi.
Yep, that's gone straight into the bad column.
Yep.
Basically because I've seen it a million times before.
The funniest thing about this is my computer has changed Tom Brandi to Tom Brady. And I was thinking it would be much more entertaining if Mark Merrow had wrestled Tom Brady in this match.
It would have been. It would have been different anyway.
Well, mostly just because I would hope that Mark Merrow would whoop the shit out of Tom Brady, because I fucking hate Tom Brady. Personally.
Again, it was a nothing match. And the whole story was with Sable and Luna. Unfortunately, yet again, Luna has to go in the ugly column.
Yeah, I mean,
because she looked like she'd fallen out of it. Sorry.
No, you're good. She looked like she fell out of a what?
She looked like she'd fallen out of the ugly tree and hit a branch on the way down.
This entire segment fell out of the ugly tree and hit every branch on the way down.
Yes, yeah, really it did, I suppose.
Yeah, Mark Merrow comes down to the ring with him.
At least you get to see Sable.
Well, yeah, she wasn't with him at first, but then she does come out, but he
She's
immediately
always.
sends her to the back. I filed this under things I didn't ever want to see again, but here we are. Luna ends up coming down. She helps Mero win the match, and then after the match, she kisses Mark Mero, which I think was just a setup because Goldust comes down and attacks him. Then Sable runs down to pull Luna off of Mero. She throws Luna out of the ring. Basically, Mero is mad at Sable for coming to help him. She ends up pushing him over. The crowd was super into this, and I guess they are building toward the match at WrestleMania, but I'm still going to put this in the ugly column.
Yeah. And it doesn't get much better after that, because after that we get the Headbangers against the Rock and Roll Express and Barry Windham.
Well, you forgot the Owen Hart versus Mark Henry European Championship.
Oh, I've got that below that. Sorry. Yeah, I see. I've made a note in the wrong place.
It's okay. It's okay. I forgive you. I just... they just hand out European Championship matches to anybody, right? Like Oprah gives out cars. You get a European Championship match. You get a European Championship match. You get nobody. I mean, what did Mark Henry do to deserve a championship match? Has he won a match? I haven't seen him.
Nothing. No, nothing again. It's all to tell the story of the Nation trying to attack Steve Blackman and who saved him. Really?
Yeah, but the Sarge comes down again. He's throwing his weight around. Sends the Nation to the back. China comes out during this, and she's like,
God,
distracting.
Yeah.
Owen Hart, which leads to Mark, and then it looks like she's going to help Mark Henry win, but then she ends up just low blowing Mark Henry so that.
Did you notice that she actually low blowed the pair of them?
No, I didn't.
I think Mark Henry came off better from that because they were so close together. Mark Henry and Owen. When she went between Mark Henry's legs, I think she must have caught Owen because he sort of doubled up and went backwards as well at the same time as Mark Henry's selling it.
It does make sense because you're right. They were basically one person at that point. They were so close to each other. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is basically mostly to push the more of the Owen Hart versus Triple H thing at WrestleMania. And China getting involved. Also, I'm pretty sure there comes a time where doesn't Mark Henry have a big crush on China? I'm pretty sure I remember that from when I was a kid.
That's when he was sexual chocolate, wasn't it?
It was, but I remember. I guess the further we go into the Attitude Era, I guess we'll find out. One day
we'll find out about all that sort of thing. Yeah. We've got some stuff to come up, haven't we?
We really do.
The ugly list will get longer as we go through the years.
I think you're right, Glenn. I think you're right. But I even though this was a DQ finish and there was kind of a little bit of nonsense, I thought it all made sense and it was all building toward a story. So I did put this in the good section. I thought this was a good part of the show.
Yeah, no, again, that's why I say it was a bad match telling a good story.
Yeah, definitely. And then we get to the NWA Rock and Roll Express and Barry Windham taking on Takamichi Noku and the Headbangers. The most entertaining part of this was the Headbangers fucking poking fun at the NWA and Jim Cornette before the match. The rest of it was I could have did without.
Well, I've got one. Well, 2 words for it: clusterfuck. It was done at 1,000,000 miles an hour. It was quick. I suppose that's the best thing you can say about it. It was quick.
Yeah, I mean, let's see. I got. Well, it helps if I look at the right day, huh? The right episode. They got. It doesn't even have 1 minute and 48 seconds. So yeah.
Exactly.
They managed to turn a 1:48 match into an amazing clusterfuck because it was just so sloppy.
It was.
The guy's timing seemed very off. It just wasn't good. Thrasher gets the pin after Cornette tries to hit him with the tennis racket, but he ends up taking it from him and hitting Robert Gibson for the pinfall. After the match, Cornette challenges the Headbangers to a rematch for the World Tag Team Championships next week. Please no. I wrote, this was ugly. The match was sloppy. It was only about 3 minutes. This NWA stuff is trash.
The Rock and Roll Express, even in 1998, haven't got the speed and the wherewithal anymore to live with the Headbangers. And it makes it look like they're in slow motion and the Headbangers are going at 200 miles an hour.
Yeah, and I don't know maybe Ricky and Robert just weren't feeling it, because I'm sure they could still go at this time. I mean, they still fucking. I know Morton's still wrestling today, so maybe it just
that's
wasn't
true.
Maybe just the chemistry wasn't there in the WWF for them, which I get, because they're not really WWF guys, you know.
No, that's it. They're doing Jim. Basically, this is all doing Jim Cornette a favor, isn't it?
I really think that Jim Cornette was on the creative team, and then him and Russo kept butting heads so much that they were like, you know what? Let's give Cornette this NWA thing to do. He can do that for a little while, and maybe him and Russo can stop arguing.
Yeah.
I'm sure that's not what happened, but I like to make up stories. The next thing is the second hour starts, and Mike Tyson is on his way down to the ring. And the fans in Cleveland hated him.
They booed him out of the building. It was wonderful. Never has somebody who's been built up to be this big hero been hated by a crowd so much.
They absolutely it was like he robbed all of their grandmothers before the show started. Yeah, they were not happy with Mike Tyson. I'm not sure if it's because Austin is so over, and that people like see Tyson and they assume like, oh, he's in a feud with Austin, and that's why they boo him, or they just fucking hate Mike Tyson in Cleveland. I don't know.
Who knows? Yeah, don't like people biting ears.
Maybe that's it. Maybe they're strongly against ear biting in Cleveland. They don't play that shit.
No.
It's what it is. I thought it was funny that Vince McMahon asked Mike Tyson a question, but then never allowed him to answer the question.
Yeah.
Because he's like, are you going to be able to enforce or will someone like Stone Cold Steve Austin enforce his own rules at WrestleMania? And then he just moved on to something else.
Well, that's typical. Vince didn't want anybody upstaging him, even Mike Tyson.
Yeah, I guess not. Because he immediately asked him who he thinks is going to win the match. And before Tyson can answers, the DX music hits, and they make their way down to the ring with about 12 WWF officials. Gets in Tyson's face, tells him that they're not going to disrespect Tyson like Austin did. But he says he's calling Mike Tyson's ass out right now. Mike Tyson says, let's do it. And everyone clears the ring, and it looks like they're going to fight, but they don't, do they, Glenn?
No, they don't. They end up hugging. Mike Tyson has his T-shirt ripped off, and he's got a DX T-shirt on underneath, and that got the biggest pop of this segment.
It did. It was like a weird thing though, because the crowd seemed like they didn't know what to do. It was like like what the fuck moment. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I won't put it on the level of this. But the silence in the arena was like the silence of when The Undertaker lost at WrestleMania 30. It wasn't like that, but like it was a calmed down version of that, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. It felt like the atmosphere had been sucked out of the building.
Yeah, like nobody saw this.
No. And then they started going for it because they realised that as a heel they could cheer him.
Yeah, there was a weird turn. Yeah, it was definitely a weird turn that happened. It was like the crowd had to take it and let it digest with them. And then once they digested it, they were like, oh, yeah! It just took them a second.
What a great story.
They do the whole suck it thing to Vince McMahon. And so Mike Tyson, the special guest enforcer, is now a member of DX. I would say this was good. Had to be good.
I have a question for you.
Yes.
Do you know who Jennifer Flowers is or was?
I want to say this without me looking it up because I questioned this too. I was like, who the fuck is Jennifer Flowers? But I want to say it has something to do with Bill Clinton.
It does, apparently. Okay, my note is Jennifer Flowers, who the fuck? And I looked it up and it has something to do with Bill Clinton. Obviously not Monica Lewinsky standards, but some other intern or something else that he was allegedly fiddling with. And she's the surprise celebrity for WrestleMania.
I thought it was Rhonda Shear for a minute. That's what I thought it was going to be. I don't know what she's going to do at WrestleMania, but she's going to be there, I guess.
Yep. Who knows?
We go into the next segment of the show. On this week's edition of Which Member of the Nation of Domination will Steve Blackman beat up this week? And it's Kama
Mustafa.
Yep. Yeah.
Again, what was the point in this? Again, Sarge makes all the rest of the nation go back out the back, and it still all ends up. Steve Blackman wins, obviously. And then the whole of the nation come down and beat him up until, what's his name? Ken Shamrock comes down to save him for some reason unknown to those two.
Well, because The Rock and Farouk are beating him up, I think. He's got a big match with The Rock at WrestleMania.
Thing with him. Yeah.
So he runs down to make the save. I did think, though, like of all the matches we've seen Blackman in, I thought he looked the best in this match. I thought the moves that he did. He looked great.
It was one of those things. When he came back, he forgot that he had wrestled before, and he seemed to have forgotten as well. But now the cobwebs are coming off.
And I mean, Kama's a pretty established, wrestler. He's been doing it for quite some time now too. So I mean, put him in there with a big guy who both can kind of throw their weight around. I think is a better fit for him than say having him wrestle D'Lo Brown. Nothing against D'Lo, I'm just saying where they're at in their careers.
Yeah.
So, but I even with the DQ finish and this basically a nothing match, I still thought that this was good because I thought that it highlighted Steve Blackman better than any of the other matches that they've had him in. So I thought this was...
That's fair. Yeah, that is fair. It's Jeff Jarrett next.
Yeah, with
his new manager.
Yeah, file this under things that I fucking forgot about because I don't remember... It's Robert Fuller is his real name, right?
Yeah, Robert Fuller, a.k.a. Colonel Robert Parker. And now he's a rip-off of that, calling himself Tennessee Lee.
Yeah, and Jeff Jarrett is back to his old JEFFJARETT. That's Double J, Jeff Jarrett, the world's greatest singer, the world's greatest entertainer, and the world's greatest wrestler. He's back to that whole gimmick again. So
yeah. And how they reintroduce him, they put him up against Flash Funk, who looks like he's going through a gimmick change as well.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with Flash Funk.
Not all the dancing and everything. He's growing his hair out.
Things haven't worked out.
That's fair as well, I would think.
Flash Funk in the WWE.
No, but again, I've got this down in the bad part because it was nothing.
Yeah, I mean.
Which it should be with those two.
Yeah, clearly with the fact that I completely forgot that Robert Fuller was ever on WWE TV in 1998 will show you that he's probably not around for very long, and he didn't have a lasting impression on media at least. So, I wrote in here this match. I wrote this a short little match, wasn't bad or good. I guess they should have just stuck with the interview. They should have just did the interview and left. I'm gonna say this was bad. Because it made me want to change the channel. Like if I would have been able to physically switch over to Nitro at this point, I would have. I would have just moved on.
You would have, yeah,
because.
But then again, you would have missed the best part of the show.
Well, hopefully, I would have came back. Yeah, I would have hoped I'd came back. But yes, you're right. I got to ask you this though, Glenn. Between the years of 1997 and 1998 thus far, how many fucking video packages have the Legion of Doom, the LOD, the Road Warriors have we seen? Like 20, 25?
It must be at least.
They are the most video packages in 97 and 98. I don't know why.
Yeah, just to remind people who they are.
Or remind us of their breakup last week. But yeah, that was just one little thing before we got to the very end of the show, which is supposed to be the big showdown between Kane and Stone Cold Steve Austin, but that's not what we got, is it?
No. We got something better than that, I think.
I would agree.
It protected both Kane and Steve Austin, because there is no way that either of those two, where they are on their trajectory, could actually face up against one another and have a match. So having DX come out and attack Austin with all the ill feeling and everything that's going on between Austin and HBK, that was perfect. And then it got us to the big segment where I still pop for it to this day. I did at the time, I still do now. We got Kane in the ring with Paul Bearer. Casket's there, it gets struck by lightning, and then saying that you have to face up.
Yeah, it's pretty iconic moment. I didn't remember at all that this had anything to do with Stone Cold Steve Austin or DX being involved in it at all.
No.
So that was nice because it was a surprise, because I wasn't expecting this to be the week that the Undertaker came back. But my favorite part is that they bring Paul Bearer after DX beats up Austin, and they go to a commercial. They come back and basically say Austin is in the backstage area, tearing apart the backstage area, trying to find DX, but DX is long gone. They're out of here. So, we don't have to worry about that anymore. They bring Paul Bearer makes the timekeeper get in, and he starts having him ring the bell 10 times for the Undertaker. And as he's doing that, after the 10th one, the gong starts going off for the Undertaker.
And then the lightning and the whole shebang. Perfect.
Yeah, it was really, really good. And yeah, literally, when I was watching this, I had goosebumps on my arms while I was watching it because it's just so great. And then the way they had like an amplifier or something on the Undertaker where he didn't have to hold a microphone, and it just seemed like he was talking in such a big voice that the whole arena could hear him. And I thought that added something to it. It was really, really good.
Yes, yeah, because he's not just. No, that's the Undertaker. He's not just cutting a promo. He's talking to the creatures of the night.
Right, and like he's meaning everything that he says, and he's saying this all. This isn't just a wrestling promo. This is for real. Yeah, is what I felt like.
That's it.
Yeah, great stuff. He tells Kane, "Welcome to hell, and the demon who will lead you to your eternal damnation." It was really, really good. If you haven't seen this, go back and just fast forward to the last, I think, 20 minutes, maybe 10 minutes of the show, 15 minutes of the show, and give all of this a watch because it's really, really. I'm not going to sit here and try to go word for word for what he said, because it was really, really great and fucking amazing segment. It was awesome.
It was. But I would actually recommend you go watch this whole. If you're going to watch WrestleMania, then watch this show because there are so many seeds and storylines advanced within this show for WrestleMania.
No, absolutely. And I think we're only 2 or 3 weeks away from WrestleMania at this point.
Yeah, I think it's 2 weeks. Yeah.
This is like me personally. It's hard for me to just go back and just watch one pay-per-view because like I want to go back and see all the stories into it, especially like a WrestleMania. Like if I want to watch a WrestleMania, I want to watch at least 3 or 4 shows going into it, so like I can like be entrenched with all the stories. So yeah, I would absolutely recommend going back and checking this show out. It's not going to have any matches on there that's going to blow you away, but it does have a lot of good segments and a lot of good
storytelling, as a wise man once said.
So what do you say, Glenn? Does this show get 2 thumbs up?
That's 2 thumbs up, mainly for the end. But I'm just going to 2 thumbs up.
I'm going to give it 1, but still a good show nonetheless.
It still gets it gets 2 from me because I'm an Undertaker mark as much as it. Yes.
That makes sense. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Yeah. Let's look at the TV ratings for this week. The WWE went up pretty good deal. They went from 3.24 last week to a 3.76, so they went up about 50 points or so. WCW also went up from a 4.95 last week to a 4.81 this week. So again, still beating the WWE by almost a full point, but their WWE ratings are improving. Do you want to hear the matches that we missed since we watched Raw instead of Nitro?
Yes, please.
All right. We got the Cat defeated Damien. Glenn, are you familiar with Damien?
I take it that's not Damien Demento.
I don't think so. The second match was Sick Boy defeating Lenny Lane. Really fucking grabber. Really attention grabbers at the start of this show.
Yeah.
Then Goldberg defeated Barry fucking Darso.
That's going to be a 20-second squash, hasn't it?
It had to. The times aren't.
That's got to be spear powerbomb all over.
You would think so. Then the things probably picked up a little bit better when Dean Malenko defeated Kidman. Brian Adams then defeated somebody named Chaos, and he had Rage with him.
Oh, right.
Who the fuck are Chaos and Rage? I have no idea who these guys are. Scott Norton defeated Juventud Guerrera. Chris Benoit and Diamond Dallas Page wrestled Raven and Saturn to a no contest. Your buddy, the British Bulldog, defeated Conan. In a match to decide who's a bigger asshole, Chris Jericho defeated Disco Inferno. Booker T defeated Juventud Guerrera. Ric Flair defeated Kurt Hennig by DQ. And the main event was Hollywood Hogan, Kevin Nash, and Scott Hall defeated Randy Savage, Sting, and the Giant. So there you have it. And I'm sure 1998 Chris Jericho wasn't an asshole, but I think 2024 Chris Jericho is an absolute asshole. So that's why I said that.
Yeah.
And Disco Inferno is an all-decade asshole. So
same could be. I was going to say. Same could be said of Disco Inferno because he was an all-decade
he's an all-decade asshole. So there you have it. I'm personally still glad we watched Raw instead of Nitro. But that's it. That is all for this week's show. Glenn, who do you need to plug before we get out of here?
I'm booking the territory, doing the first and last of wrestling at the moment with their little side projects. The unstacking the Dadatory, looking at the road to Wembley 1981 for Big Daddy and Giant Haystacks, and the most watched wrestling match of all time. They have their little side, other little side projects that they've tied up now. Series 2 of Being the Elite Game, and of course the I don't know shit predecessor. What is it? I'm booking the Tankatory, the Life and Times of Tank Abbott. Yes, and of course
the Doctor Who podcast with Danny Inside. It's on SJP World Media. Subscribe to them on YouTube too. Check out the Volley as well.
And DDT Wrestling with DC and Doc.
Give all those fine people and folks a listen and a follow. And give a follow to the other member of our podcast team, the Mayor of Kent. He does a meal with the Mayor every Wednesday where he tries a different sort of fast food so you don't have to. So give him a follow. He's at Mayor of Kenton on the Twitter X machine. And of course, check out Sports Wire Radio. And of course, give our buddy, our friend, our pal, our cohort, Thomas Bryce, a follow on all the social media platforms. Just search Thomas Brice. It's spelled just like it sounds, and you'll find it. And make sure you check out the website, sportswireradio.org. Hit that listen live button. You hear many great shows just like ours. And of course, make sure you check out all the other great shows we got going on. We're back to some Memphis wrestling this week as we watch an episode of 1984 CWA Memphis Wrestling with the Mayor. That'll be out on Sunday. And of course, I don't know,
classic
Life and Times of Psycho Sid, where he will be facing Bret Hart in a cage match where he will defend the World Wrestling Federation Championship 1 week before WrestleMania 13. So check that out. You don't want to miss that. That's a YouTube exclusive, so check it out. Watch along with us. And that's it, Glenn. I don't think I have anything else to say. The only thing there is left to say is for you to say goodbye.
Goodbye.